Hari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. एवं विष्णुपाद परमान चपर श्रेष्ठ सदस्य श्रीमद इस डिवाइन ग्रेसेस भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। इस्कॉन संस्थापक आचार्य श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। एवं विष्णुपाद परमान चपर सदस्य श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय। एवं विष्णुपाद श्री गौर किशोर दास महाराज की जय। एवं विष्णुपाद सच्चिदानंद श्री भक्ति ठाकुर की जय। एवं विष्णुपाद वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास महाराज की जय। जय श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। नमाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री दादर शिवसादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गोवर्धन की जय। श्री श्री गौरांगी बेंगलुरीश्वर भगवान की जय। श्री मायापुर धाम की जय। श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। यमुना माई की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। तुलसी देवी की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद भागवतम की जय। इस्कॉन वर्तमान गुजरात की जय। समावेत भक्तवृंद की जय। गौरव प्रेमानंद हरि हरि बोल। All glories to the assembled bodies. All glories to the assembled bodies. All glories to the assembled bodies. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Shri Prabhupada की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वती व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिः। Hare Krishna, welcome to the Friday morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today we are discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 25, Text 36. Ter darshaniya vayavairudara vilasahazekshita vamashuktaihi vritatmano vritaparnamscha bhaktir anichato me gatim anvim prayunkte Terdarshaniya Vayavair Udarha Vilasa Hasekshita Vamashuktaihi Hutatmano Hitapranamscha Bhaktir Anichato Me Katim Anvim Prayunkte Terdarshaniya Vayavair Udarha Vilasa Hasekshita Vamashuktaihi Hutatmano Hitapranamscha Bhaktir Anichato Me Katim Anvim Prayunkte. Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Upon seeing the charming forms of the Lord, smiling and attractive, and hearing his very pleasing words, the pure devotee almost loses all other consciousness. His senses are freed from all the engagements and becomes absorbed in devotional service. Thus, in respite of his unwillingness, he attains liberation without separate endeavor. Purport Srila Prabhupada ki jai. There are three divisions of devotees: first class, second class, and third class. Even the third class devotees are liberated souls. It is explained in this verse that although they do not have knowledge, simply by seeing the beautiful decoration of the deity in the temple, the devotee is absorbed in thought of him and loses all other consciousness. Simply by fixing oneself in Krishna consciousness, engaging the senses in the service of the Lord, one is imperceptibly liberated. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Simply by discharging uncontaminated devotional service as prescribed in the scriptures, one becomes equal to Brahman. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. This means that the living entity in his original state is Brahman because he is part and parcel of the Supreme Brahman. But simply because of his forgetfulness of his real nature as an eternal servitor of the Lord, he is overwhelmed and captured by Maya. His forgetfulness of his real constitutional position is Maya. Otherwise, he is eternally Brahman. When one is trained to become conscious of his position, he understands that he is the servitor of the Lord. Brahman refers to a state of self-realization. Even the third class devotee who is not advanced in knowledge of the absolute truth, but simply offers obeisances with great devotion, thinks of the Lord, sees the Lord in the temple, and brings forth flowers and fruits to offer to the deity, becomes imperceptibly liberated. Shraddhayan Vitaha. With great devotion, the devotees offer worshipful respects and paraphernalia to the deity. The deities of Radha and Krishna, Lakshmi and Narayana, and Rama and Sita are very attractive to devotees. So much so that when they see the statue decorated in the temple of the Lord, they become fully absorbed in thought of the Lord. That is the state of liberation. In other words, it is confirmed herein that even a third class devotee is in the transcendental position above those who are trying for liberation by speculation or by other methods. Even great impersonalists like Sukadeva Goswami and the four Kumaras were attracted by the beauty of the deities in the temple, by the decorations, and by the aroma of tulsi offered to the Lord, and they became devotees. Even though they were in the liberated state, instead of remaining impersonalists, they were attracted by the beauty of the Lord and became devotees. Here, the word vilasa is very important. Vilasa refers to the activities or pastimes of the Lord. It is a prescribed duty in temple worship that not only should one visit the temple to see the deity nicely decorated, but at the same time he should hear the recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, or some similar literature which is regularly recited in the temple. It is the system in Vrindavana that in every temple there is a recitation of the Shastras. Even third class devotees who have no literary knowledge or no time to read Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita get the opportunity to hear about the pastimes of the Lord. In this way, their minds may remain always absorbed in the thought of the Lord, his form, his activities, and his transcendental nature. This state of Krishna consciousness is a liberated state. Lord Chaitanya therefore recommended 5 important processes in the discharge of devotional service: to chant the holy names of the Lord, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. To associate with devotees and serve them as far as possible. To hear Srimad Bhagavatam, to see the decorated temple and the deity, and if possible, to live in a place like Vrindavana or Mathura. These 5 items alone can help a devotee achieve the highest perfectional stage. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita and here in the Srimad Bhagavatam. That third class devotees can also imperceptibly achieve liberation is accepted in all Vedic literatures. Om Agyati Mirandashinananjanvishalakaya Chakshurmilitam Vena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Vena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamahyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Vidapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sjeevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Saganalata Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpade Gopesha Gopka Kanta Radha Kanta Murtude Taptakan Chanakaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanusute Devi Panamami Haripriye Mancha Kalpatarupyascha Kvasnute Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Moham Karodi Vachalam, Pangam Lange, Digil, Kapada Muhammad, Shri Guru Devan, Paramanta Madam, Shri Chaitanya Misha. Hare Krishna. So here in this verse, Lord Kapila is explained to his mother, Devahuti. He says, upon seeing the charming forms of the Lord, smiling and attractive, and hearing his very pleasing words, the pure devotee almost loses all other consciousness. His senses are free from all other engagements, and he becomes absorbed in devotional service. Thus, in spite of his unwillingness, he attains liberation without separate endeavor. So there are a few important points in this sloka. This is the one of the quality of the pure devotees of the Lord, that they are liberated even without any separate endeavor. This is the power of devotional service. And pure devotees, it is said that there are three classes of devotees: first class devotee, second class devotee, and third class devotee. We'll come to this discussion a little later. So, seeing the form of the Lord in the temple, Lord is very, very attractive and is very beautiful. And if one can see the smiling face of the Lord and hear about the Lord, hear from the Lord, there is nothing greater than that for a human being to achieve. So generally, the neophyte stage, in the beginning stage of devotional service, the devotees would like to see Krishna or God, but God cannot be seen or known by our materially blunt senses. The process of devotional service for seeing the Lord is mentioned in the scriptures, and it is different from the material condition of life which we are normally used to or conditioned to. Our senses are contaminated. When one becomes uncontaminated by constant practice of devotional service, and when the senses are employed in the service of the Lord, like seeing the Lord, hearing about the Lord, speaking about the Lord, then one is situated in what is called the bhakti, process of bhakti or process of devotional service. And then automatically one can see the Lord on a face-to-face basis. So in the Puranas, there is a description of how seeing a deity of the Lord in the temple is very effective. It's quoted that where anyone who goes to Vrindavana and sees the deity of Govinda Deva becomes free from the court of Yamaraja and is allowed to enter into the highest planetary system in which reside the demigods. So that means that this court is not for pure devotees of the Lord. Normally, even anyone who goes to a temple and sees the deities of the temple, uh, even if he is not elevated to the spiritual kingdom, just by seeing the Lord, one can be assured promotion to the higher planetary systems. So that means one is elevated to a pious life. Then how one sees the Lord's smile, just the smile of the Lord is so powerful that it can wipe off all the distresses of all the conditioned souls in no time, which is what we are all repairing. Actually, when we smile, what happens is that we try to smile all the time, but if we are not looking at the smile of the Lord, but if you are able to see the beautiful smile of the Lord, then it is said that all the distresses go away. We may see the form of the Lord, but many times you may not see the Lord smiling. But if you are able to see the Lord smiling, that itself can vanquish all the distresses in one's life. Srila Prabhupada quotes that just like when a flower is blossoming, that means Krishna smiling is like the blossoming of flower. When a flower blossoms, it looks very, very beautiful. Similarly, if we see the Lord smiling, we will also see the smile instead of the crying instead of our crying. So the Lord's smile and our smile are generally very, very different. When we smile, normally what happens is that we have some motive or we have some duplicity. But the Lord's smile is like a blessing to the seer without a tinge of duplicity. Then the beauty of the Lord is very, very beautiful. His youth actually is mentioned in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, along with the beauty of his youth. When the Lord gives a very beautiful smile, it defeats even the beauty of a full moon. So when the Lord is dressed very nicely, his beauty surpasses even Cupid, who attracts conditioned souls. And he always attracts the minds of the gopis, who always feel pleasure in seeing the Lord. That's how Krishna is very, very attractive. It's also described that the gopis say, uh, Vrinda Gopi, from whom Vrindavana was actually named, she addresses Krishna. My dear Madhava, your newly invented smile has so captivated the hearts of the gopis that they are simply unable to express themselves, and they are so bewildered that they cannot even talk with others. So this is how when one sees the beauty of the Lord, he is so much bewildered that he doesn't talk to others. So all these gopis actually they became so affected as if like they had sprinkled some water on their body. In other words, they have given up all the hopes of living in living. So according to it's said that according to Indian system, when a person is dead, they sprinkle water on the body. But the gopis were so enchanted by the beauty of Krishna that they could not express their minds and they wanted to give up their bodies. It's a similar statement which says that Krishna exhibited such beautiful bodily features that his eyes became restless, eyes became like a plaything of Cupid, and his smile resembled something like a newly grown lotus flower. So this enchanting vibration of his songs that came from the flute by Krishna playing the flute became a very great impediment for all, whether it is the gopis or their husbands, to remain faithful to themselves. So this is how Krishna was so beautiful. And when he became, say, 13 to 14 years, his two arms, chest were all so much developed that they had beauty which one cannot even describe. So it is said that it is not possible to describe the beautiful features of Krishna. And along with that, when someone sees his smiling, his restless eyes, these are all very, very great features of the Lord. One becomes captivated. There is a discussion in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam where Uddhava tells Vidura, he says, my dear sir, Krishna's form was most wonderful when he appeared on this planet, and he exhibited the potency of his internal energy. His wonderful, attractive form was present during his pastimes on this planet, and by his potency, internal potency, exhibited such opulences which are striking to everyone. And his personal beauty was so great that there was no necessity for his wearing ornaments on his body. So there was no, Krishna was so beautiful that there was no need for Krishna to wear ornaments on his body. But on the other hand, the Krishna's beauty enhanced the beauty of the ornaments. That means the beauty of Krishna was such that those that beauty enhanced the ornaments of which Krishna was wearing. So this is how Krishna was so beautiful. And then it is also described in one of the scriptures that one day Krishna happened to see his own shadow of his beautiful form on a jeweled background. Upon seeing that reflection, he himself thought, how wonderful it is that I have never seen such a beautiful form. Although it is still my own form, Krishna felt that he should embrace this form and enjoy bliss. So this is how Krishna realized when he saw his own form as a reflection. And Krishna being absolute, of course, there is no difference between Krishna and his reflection. This is the transcendental position of Krishna. When we see a reflection of our own, it may not be the same. But in the case of Krishna, they are absolute. That's why they are the same. And Krishna was himself deriving bliss by seeing his own form. There's also a quote in Srimad Bhagavatam where Lord Brahma says that, my dear Lord, the inconceivable qualities, beauty, and activities which you have revealed by your presence on this planet cannot be calculated by any material measurement. That means there is no material measurement by which one can calculate the beauty of the Lord. We might see on a day-to-day basis articles such as Beauty Queen, Miss Universe, Miss India, Mr. India, so many things we might see. But all of them, they come for a payment of for some period of time and they vanish. We don't even hear their names. But Krishna is not like that. Krishna's beauty is eternal. And that is why even today when we read about the beauty of Krishna, we also become attracted to it. It says that even if one tries to imagine, oh, Krishna may be like this, he may be like that, that is also not possible in all material calculation. It's also said that a day might come that a material scientist, after many, many births or many, many years, will be able to estimate the atomic constitution of the whole world. Or he may be even able to count the atomic fragments that permeate the sky, or he may even give an estimate of all the atoms within the universe. But still, he will never be able to count the transcendental qualities of the Lord. Because this cannot be, Krishna's beauty cannot be seen by the material eyes. They can be seen only through the eyes of Bhava. So real beauty is perceived by a soul's eye, not by the eye of this material body. Therefore, Shastras describe that only one who has become completely freed from material desires, one who has become completely free from material desires can see the beauty of the Lord with his pure soul. In Brahma Samhita also, Lord Brahma prays Venum Kanandam Aravinda Dhyadalaksham Varpavatam Samastam Sundaragam Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. He says, I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is adept in playing his flute with blooming eyes like lotus petals with head bedecked with peacock feather. So Krishna's eyes are like lotus petals bedecked with peacock feather, with head bedecked with peacock feather. And his beauty is such in the form of blue clouds, and he's got a unique loveliness. What is it? Charming millions of cupids. Krishna can charm not one cupid, he can charm millions of cupids. So the conclusion is that even the beauty of millions of moons cannot be compared to the beauty of Krishna. There is a very nice pastime in the Bhagavad Bhagavatam also, where once a Gopakumara was blessed by his spiritual master, because he desired to see Krishna. So he was blessed by his spiritual master. And in his endeavor, he crossed one by one planetary systems like Svargaloka, Maharloka, Tapaloka, Satyaloka. Finally, he reached the universal covering. And in each of these coverings, he was welcomed by the preceding deities. And then after covering all these layers, he went to the entry of Vaikuntha. So the gatekeepers stopped him and they said that they have to take permission from him before they let him in. So while he was standing there, he saw someone coming very, very beautiful. And immediately he bowed down, thinking that the Gopakumara bowed down, thinking that it was the Lord. And he said, "Oh Lord, please protect me." Then the Vaikuntha resident was shocked. He said, "No, I'm not the Lord." And he closed his ears with his hands and he said, "I'm just a servant. I'm a servant of the servants." Then another person came and he was much more beautiful than the personality whom he saw. And he was much more opulent. Then Gopakumara thought that this must surely be the Lord because he's so beautiful, even beautiful than the previous entity. And he has come to come. So when Gopakumara offered obeisance, then that personality also told the same thing, that I'm not the Supreme Lord. So like this, many came and many more beautiful than the ones previously seen came. So, and many carried objects of service for the Lord, for serving the Lord. So then he thought they may be, if the residents of the Lord are so beautiful, what may be the beauty of the Lord himself? And each one was actually singing and offering prayers to the Lord. Somewhere someone was coming alone, someone was coming with his families. So in this way, they came in different forms also. Sometimes it is said that they would change their form from human to other forms, and each one were very, very attractive. So there were hierarchies in the Vaikuntha planets also. But he saw that there was no envy at all in these places. Everyone was free from envy, and everyone was thinking how to serve the Lord in the best way possible. And the place was also looking very, very beautiful, glittered with riches of gold and emerald and jewels and etc. So, seeing this, Gopakumar thought that everyone is self-satisfied here, fulfilled in all the desires and free from all material concerns. And that is how the residents of Vaikuntha, they have been able to serve the Lord there. Then the door, and thereafter the doorkeepers took this Gopakumara one through so many doors. And finally, when the Gopakumara reached, then the gods told Gopakumara how to identify the Lord and how to address the Lord. And finally, when the Gopakumara reached that place, he saw the Lord was seated. He saw the Lord sitting very leisurely in a very nice golden throne. The Lord looked very, very beautiful, full with all the opulences. The Lord was wearing golden ornaments, and he had beautiful, long, shining arms, etc. So when he saw the goddess of fortune making betel leaf and serving the Lord personally, and the Lord was accepting it with nicely with his lotus hands, and the color also made the Lord's lips look more attractive. Normally, if we see somebody in this material world outside chewing this betel, it may look very, very ugly. But when the Lord chews a betel leaf, it adds to his beauty. So on one side, the goddess of fortune was serving him. On the other side, Bhumi, the second goddess of fortune, was holding a pan to receive the remnants from the chewing. So, and then he saw Shesha, Garuda, Vishwaksena, all bowing down before the Lord. So, and the Lord extended his lotus feet to accept service from the servants. And then, as soon as he saw the Lord, Gopakumar started, and the Lord said, address Gopakumara. He said, "Oh Gopala, my life and soul, and want to embrace." The Lord said, "Oh Gopala, my life and soul." As soon as the Lord Gopakumara went to embrace the Lord, the servants held back Gopakumara because Gopakumara was so much emotional. Then the Lord Gopakumara's eyes were flooded with tears in his eyes, and the Lord said, "Please come back to your senses, my dear boy. Come here quickly." As soon as the Lord said, "Please come here quickly," Gopakumara was also in ecstasy. Then the Lord said, "My dear boy, welcome. I'm very fortunate because I'm most fortunate to see you here. For a long time, I've been very eager to see you. You have passed many lifetimes without paying attention to me at all. For so long, hope had me dancing like a fool. That means the Lord says that I've been very eager to see you. That means more than our wanting to see the Lord is eager to see the living entities back to his home. And the Lord says, I'm most fortunate to meet you here. You have passed many lifetimes without paying any attention to me at all. For so long, hope had me dancing like a fool. So many lifetimes have passed. The Lord has been thinking, yes, this conditioned soul, this soul will come to me, come to me. Finally, when the Lord sees, the Lord becomes very happy. Then the Lord says, thinking perhaps in this lifetime or this, he will finally turn his face towards me. But you showed me no mercy. And as I considered this, I grew impatient, full of anxiety to receive your favor. So the Lord became impatient to see the soul more than the soul might be wanting to see the Lord. And then he says, so I transgressed my eternal code of conduct and arranged for you to take your current birth. Today you have at last fulfilled that desire. I have harbored so long. So please nourish your happiness and mine by staying here forever. So this is how the Lord became very, very ecstatic, and the Lord was very, very blissful seeing Gopakumara. And finally, when the Lord arranged for his birth to take birth as a Gopakumara. So this is how it is mentioned how the Lord is more eager to see us than we might be eager to see the Lord, or even eager to see the beauty of the Lord. There is a similar quote in Srimad Bhagavatam where Queen Kunti mentions in her prayer, Nama Pankaja Navaya, Nama Pankaja Malne, Nama Pankaja Netraya, Namaste Pankajangrehe. My respectful obeisances to you, O Lord, whose abdomen is marked with a depression like a lotus flower, who are always decorated with garlands of lotus flowers, whose glance is as cool as the lotus, and whose feet are engraved with lotuses. The Lord's glance, the Lord lotus feet, they're all as beautiful as the lotuses. And then what happens when one sees the Lord and his senses automatically become freed from all other engagements and he becomes absorbed in devotional service. So, in a stage like this, when one starts seeing the beauty of the Lord and gets attracted by seeing the beauty, form, and hearing the pastimes of the Lord, one automatically becomes fully absorbed in devotional service. And such a person, even if he does not endeavor for liberation, he simply attains it by just seeing and hearing the pastimes of the Lord. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that's why I addressed my dear son of, in his prayers, he said, my dear son of Nanda, I do not want any material happiness in the shape of many followers, nor immense opulence and wealth, nor a beautiful wife, nor do I want cessation from material existence. That means Mahaprabhu came in the form, appeared in the form of a devotee. He says, I don't want even cessation from material existence. I may take birth after birth many times, one after another, but I only pray is that my devotion to you may always remain unflinching. This is what a pure devotee always aspires, that birth after birth one may be engaged in pure devotional service. There is a quote from Srimad Villamangala Thakur also was one of the great devotees in our parampara, who says, if I am engaged in devotional service unto you, my dear Lord, then very easily I can see your presence everywhere. Just by being engaged in devotional service, one can perceive the presence of the Lord everywhere. And he says, as far as liberation is concerned, he says, it stands at my door with folded hands. So normally what happens is in a beginning state, that is what is mentioned here is about a third class devotee who might endeavor for liberation through artificial means or by mental speculation. Even such a person is already liberated from these material miseries. And we'll say, Mangala Thakura says, as far as liberation is concerned, it stands at my door with folded hands, waiting to serve me. So to pure devotees, therefore, liberation and spiritual emancipation, they are not very, very important. They are always wanting to serve the Lord personally. So, in this verse, it is mentioned as to how third-class devotees also become liberated. So by engaging the senses in the service of the Lord, the very popular verse, Sarvopadi Vinirmuktam, Tatparathinman, Vishikena Shikesevaram, Bhakti Ruchate. By seeing the beautiful decoration of the deity in the temple, a devotee can become absorbed in thought of him, and he can lose all other consciousnesses. Another important point is that every living entity in this conditioned state or liberated state, they are all Brahman, because the Lord is Parabrahman, he is the supreme Brahman. All the living entities, being the part and parcel of the Lord, are also Brahman. But because of their forgetfulness of the real nature as a constitutional position, as an eternal servant of the Lord, one is captured by Maya. So his forgetfulness is what is called Maya. Otherwise, one is always in his original platform as Brahman. So Krishna consciousness means that one becomes trained to realize his Brahman status or his eternal position as a servitor of the Lord. That is what is called self-realization. Another important point mentioned here is that one is seeing the beauty of the Lord, then smiling, seeing the attractive and smiling form of the Lord, hearing about the pleasing words of the Lord, and then offering obeisances. Offering obeisances is a very, very important point. It says that one should first learn to bow down immediately upon seeing the deity form of the Lord or the spiritual master. So as soon as one sees his spiritual master or the deity form, one should immediately offer his obeisances. There is also a quote, it says that a person who has performed great ritualistic sacrifice, but one who has simply offered his obeisance by bowing down before the Lord cannot be compared as equals. That means one might have performed many sacrifices in many births, but it cannot be compared to even to one time a person offering obeisances to the Lord. So that is how powerful is offering obeisances or going down before the Lord. It is said that one who offers respects bowing down before the deity will not come back to this world, because he will directly go to the abode of Krishna. So here in this verse, there's mention about three classes of devotees. Devotees may be divided into three classes. One is the first class devotee, which is called the uppermost class. His qualities are, he is very expert in the study of relevant scriptures, and he is also expert in putting forward arguments in terms of those scriptures. And he can also present very nice conclusions with perfect discretion and consider the ways of devotional service in a decisive way. So one who is very well knowledgeable in scriptures and can present them in a very nice, decisive way is a top class devotee or a first class devotee. And he knows also that Krishna is the only object of worship and love. And he has gone through a training under a qualified spiritual master and has sincerely obeyed him in accordance with the revealed scriptures. And such a first class devotee, being fully trained to preach and become a spiritual master, is a first class personality. He never deviates from the principles of higher authority, and he has got full faith in the scriptures. And by understanding with all reason and arguments, he can convince anyone. The first class devotee is not interested in dry speculative methods for wasting time. In other words, one who has attained a mature determination in the matter of devotional service can be accepted as a first class devotee. Then the second class devotee has defined as, now he is not very expert in arguing on the strength of the revealed scriptures, but he has full faith in the scripture. He has full faith in devotional service to Krishna. And sometimes he may even fail to offer arguments or give decisions on the strength of revealed scriptures, but he is still undaunted within himself as to the decision that he is clearly convinced that Krishna is the object of worship. And then the last or the third class devotee is one whose faith is not very strong, but at the same time, he does not recognize the decision of the revealed scriptures. His faith can be changed by anyone or someone with strong arguments. So, unlike the second class devotee who cannot put forward arguments and evidences, but he has got faith. A neophyte has, or the third class, he does not have firm faith and objective. That's why he's called a neophyte or a third class devotee. So this particular sloka says, even such a third class devotee who is not advanced in knowledge of the absolute truth, but by simply offering obeisances with great devotion, thinks of the Lord, sees the beautiful form of the Lord in the temple, brings forth flowers and fruits to offer to the deity, becomes imperceptibly liberated. So one must visit the Lord in the and see the form of the Lord in the temple. So this was the practice that was prevailing previously in all the ages. And even in Kali Yuga, I remember during the years, people always used to go to the temple in the morning, come back home, and then start performing their duties. But as Kali Yuga has progressed in the last couple of years itself, people have forgotten what is the temple and they have forgotten the Lord also. Not only that they would go to the temple, but they would carry a lot of flowers and fruits to offer to the deity. It is said that one must, to his capacity, whatever capacity permits, one should offer flowers and fruits to the Lord. The Lord does not see the opulent offering, but he sees the motive behind or the bhava with which one offers. And then such a person becomes liberated automatically by this offering fruits and flowers to the Lord and offering respects and paraphernalia to the deity. So Sri Prabhupada mentioned that the deities of Radha and Krishna, Lakshmi Narayana, Sita Rama are very, very attractive to the devotees. So much so that when they see the form of the Lord, they become fully absorbed in the thought of the Lord. That's how devotees normally go to the temple and get attracted by seeing the form of the Lord. And such personalities, even though they may not try for liberation, they are already liberated from material miseries. So Krishna consciousness means one becomes trained to become conscious of his great position, that he is the servitor of the Lord. Examples are given here as to how even impersonalists like Sukadeva Goswami, the four Kumaras, they were all attracted by seeing the form of the Lord in the temple. And by smelling the aroma, the Kumaras, they were all impersonalists. But by smelling the aroma of Tulsi offered to the Lord, they became great personalists or devotees of the Lord. So they were already liberated, but instead of remaining impersonalists, they were attracted by seeing the beauty of the Lord and became personalists. Skip a few things, few points. Similarly, Villamangala Thakur, it is mentioned that he was first initiated for impersonal realization for absolute truth. But later on, by his association with Krishna in Vrindavana, he became a very experienced devotee. And the same thing happened to Sri Sukadeva Goswami, who also became reformed himself by the grace of the Lord and took to the path of devotional service, giving up the way of impersonal realization. So Sukadeva Goswami himself admits in the second canto of the first chapter in Srimad Bhagavatam, he says, although he was very much attracted by the impersonal Brahman, when he just heard the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead from the mouth of his father Vyasadeva, he became much more attracted to Srimad Bhagavatam. So although Sukadeva Goswami was attracted initially by the impersonal Brahman, the moment he heard the transcendental pastimes of the personality of Godhead from the mouth of his own father Vyasadeva, he got attracted to hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. There is a quote by Sri Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which says, one who engages in the transcendental loving service of the Lord in body, mind, and words is considered to be liberated in all conditions of material existence. That means when one is engaged in loving service of the Lord with his body, mind, and his words, he is automatically liberated from all the miseries of this material existence. So liberation is considered, but still devotees do not aspire for liberation, because liberation is considered like a prison house, which is very difficult situation. I mean, uh, example is given where one is in a prison where there is no sleeping place, there are no comforts, no toilets, like that. But when a senior person like a minister visits that prison house, then that inmates might say, I need some comfort like a blanket, some space for my creation. So in other words, they will think of staying in the prison house, but with a little comfort. That is what liberation is compared to. But a real intelligent person is one who will think how to get out of this prison house. He does not want to have comforts in the prison by asking for some comforts in the prison house. But the intelligent person is one who thinks how to get out of the prison house. So when one comes to the spiritual life, then one automatically is liberated. So one is bhakti and one is mukti. One is bhakti, that means I want some sense gratification. Other one is mukti, that is I want to get out of this place somehow or the other. But both are inimical to the practice of devotional service. That means devotional service is such, it actually means that bhakti and mukti are like desires compared to being haunted by ghosts or witches. That means someone desires for bhakti, some sense gratification or mukti in the practice of devotional service. They are like one being haunted by ghosts or witches. So there is a quote which says that a person who is constantly engaged in chanting the holy name of the Lord and who feels transcendental pleasure, being engaged in devotional service, is certainly awarded the facilities of devotional service and is never just given mukti. That means one who practices devotional service is not just given mukti or liberation, which people might aspire for, but is already given all the facilities for practice of devotional service. So mukti means, or liberation means, freedom from material contamination. And when one is liberated, one does not have to take birth again in this material world. So normally, these impersonalists desire to merge into the spiritual existence. They want to enter Brahmajyoti, to enter their, to end their individual existence. But according to Srimad Bhagavatam, Mukti is only the beginning stage of one's being situated in a normal condition. That means when one is situated in the normal condition of starting to practice devotional service, when as a sadhaka, Mukti is already given. That means the devotee is simply satisfied just by being engaged in devotional service. He does not aspire for any liberation from any condition of any conditional life. And then there is also a quote that sometimes an impersonalist may gradually elevate himself to the personal conception. But Bhagavad Gita says after many, many births, he who actually comes in knowledge surrenders into me. So by such surrender, by surrendering to the Lord, even an impersonalist can be elevated to the Vaikuntha Loka or spiritual planets where he attains bodily features like those of the Lord. Temple worship. Normally, common man has a understanding that he should go and see the Lord in the temple to become free from miseries, etc. But Srila Prabhupada here in this purport mentions that not only should one go to see the beautiful form of the Lord, but one should also be engaged, that one hear about the recitation of Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam or any other similar literature which are normally recited in the temple. So Srila Prabhupada gives an example of how in Vrindavana, in every temple, there is a recitation of the Shastras. So even third class devotees who have no literary knowledge of the, or have no time to read Srimad Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, get an opportunity when they see these temples, visit the temples of the Lord and hear about the pastimes of the Lord. So by hearing, then they are always been absorbed in the thought of the Lord, his form, his activities, and his transcendental nature. So therefore, before concluding this class, Srila Prabhupada mentions about how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has therefore recommended 5 important processes in the discharge of devotional service. First is to chant the holy name of the Lord, that is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Second is to associate with devotees and serve them as far as possible. Third is to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. And then fourth is to see the decorated temple and the deity. And if possible, fifth point is to live in a place like Vrindavana or Mathura. So these 5 items itself can help a devotee achieve the highest perfectional stage of performing devotional service to the Supreme Lord. And even by small performance of devotional service in any of these categories, by performance even to a small extent, one can be liberated from these material miseries and be situated in his proper constitutional position. So with this, I conclude the class for the day. If anyone has got any questions or comments, I can take it for the next 2 minutes. Does anyone have any questions, any comments? So if there are no comments or questions, then I can leave. Can I leave, Prabhu? So thank you all very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.